we'll be celebrating International Women's Day. And we all know the importance women play in our lives. We are very happy. We are privileged to be women. And of course, we're very happy to be celebrating 2021 International Women's Day. So I would say, first of all, congratulations to all of us and welcome to ISAC Alumni Talks International Women's Day. So as you know, this is an annual event that celebrates women's achievements and the progress made towards equality while remembering how much further there is to go. It's been a global movement. It's a day that belongs to everyone, regardless of gender or gender identity. While women and girls represent half the world population, gender inequality persists everywhere. Yeah, like we all know, the World Economic Forum says that none of us will see gender parity in our lifetimes. I actually wonder about that, but no, likely will many of our children. But at the current rate of change, which I currently see every day around me, gender parity will not be attained for almost a century. And I beg to differ because I see a lot of changes happening every day around me, yeah? So we're on a journey to build an inclusive and diverse culture, which is one of the things we're doing right now. And progress is being made, and we have made a commitment to gender parity in ISEC also with our inclusion and diversity roadmap. I'm sure that over time, we've been encouraging more women to stand up and speak up and get elected and participate in the things that ISEC is doing. But there's still much more for all of us to do. I'm sure there's still much more space, yeah? International Women's Day is an opportunity for us all to take time to really think about gender equality and what it means to us. Every day within my immediate space, I'm thinking, what does gender inequality mean to me? And definitely, as we talk today, we're going to be shining our lights. We're going to be shining the light on achievements of others and the businesses in which we operate. And of course, be courageous enough to choose to challenge one or two status quos, which I know that our speakers today will be sharing a lot of light on. Yeah. So I'm going to give some time to each one of our speakers to introduce themselves. I would like to start with you, Inyang. Could you please introduce yourself to us?
Hi, everyone. My name is Inyang. Umoren. I'm an education programs expert with experience working on international development education programs, largely in Nigeria. And that cuts across designing and implementing programs, literacy programs, numeracy programs, teacher development programs as well. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lanike, could you please go next?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, me and your team, for putting this event together. Happy International Women's Day to all of us.
Thank you.
I'm an ethics professional. Ethics is the core of my being. That's what I do. I believe so much in it. I know that it's not a culture in Nigeria, but that is what I have spent a lot of my years doing. With ethics, I do corporate governance, I do corporate strategy, you know, all of my working years since 1998, that is what I have done. And I'm quite skilled in this, and I tap into a lot of things, you know. I'm hoping to see a country that is more ethical, because I discovered that if we can be more ethical, we will be successful in whatever we do. But you know, it's something that we don't like to hear in this area. So I hope that as we celebrate this International Women's Day, that we as women will take on the challenge to be more ethical in whatever offices we occupy. You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ifeoma, please, can we have you?
Okay, hi everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ifeoma Chucks-Adizue. Everyone calls me Ifi. If you're from Jos, you will call me Bele. So I'm a sales and marketing professional. I lead the commercial function for CAP PLC. I'm passionate about building businesses, passionate about building brands, and passionate about building people. When I'm not at work, I also founded what's called the Uncommon Woman Movement. I believe that women are made for more. You know, motherhood and marriage are not just our assignment, they're part of our design. And for each person, there's an assignment. There's something bigger that, we're called to do, which I guess came from my ISEC upbringing. As to whether you're saddled with a job and, or a mom, you're married, what's that additional thing that you can do to impact the world? So I guess that's me in a nutshell, from the professional end and the personal end. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. So I think for me, I would like to start off our conversations today with the fact that the pandemic itself, because as you know, today's program is from crisis and then what next? How do we build the future and how do we get ourselves ready as we celebrate International Women's Day into the future? We've all experienced the pandemic in one way or the other, and the work from home. If you had asked me some time back, I would have said that especially the marketing profession, maybe they were not capable of working from home. And a couple of people who took time off to work from home, you needed to seek approval, send an email. But today, nobody even needs to do that anymore, And I think for me, what has been very interesting is the fact that there's been a switch in roles between men and women today as both sit and work from home, yeah? So it has moved paid employment into homes, and it's further breaking down the barriers between men and women, yeah? This has given us greater the commonality of our day-to-day experience. If you recall a woman's day-to-day experience, you will say, oh, this role was for a woman. After her work, she still needs to do house chores and all of that. Everybody does the chores today. So for me, it's broken down those little stereotypes that we even experience in our day-to-day activities. If I also move it into the workplace, I've worked with women leaders around the world, helping them recognize, articulate, and act on their great strengths and address the barriers that undermine their efforts to build rewarding and sustainable work goals and ethics. During that time, I've also worked as women's perception of themselves as potential leaders has undergone a remarkable shift. I would like to start with you, Ifeoma, maybe because I'm endeared to you as I'm a brand person also. I'd like to start with you, and I will like us to discuss about from competence to confidence. You know how it is when they say from competence to confidence. Don't get it because you're a woman. Get it because you're also competent. But also we realize that competence comes with the confidence. Yeah. So although the experience of the 90s provided evidence that women had the skills and competence required to lead, many of us continue to lack the kind of confidence so freely exhibited by successful men. I would like you to touch a little on that, and please, with the mindset of the choose to a challenge. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. Thank you.
Okay, it was interesting as I was preparing for International Women's Day. When I looked through the different points, what I chose to challenge gender bias by doing my job well. I believe that, whether you're a woman or a man, there should be no excuse. The fact that you're a woman, there should be no excuse. And it starts with making a choice. If you choose to work, then I believe that you should choose to show up with excellence. And that's where the competence comes in. There's some things I say when it comes to competence, and that builds your confidence. If you are not clear on what you're supposed to do, if you're not clear on, the level of excellence that is required from it, then we should ask for help. I don't believe that because I'm a woman, certain roles will not be given to me. And but I've been mindful of that in the fact that if I don't speak up, if I'm not competent enough, then those roles actually, I could actually be, passed over on those roles. So it's one thing, yes, I agree with you, to have the competence, which you would build up, but you need to have the confidence. I see that a lot of women usually wait for those opportunities to come to them. So I guess that comes from the confidence part in selling yourself, in selling your achievements. We're women, we are humble, we are, those things our mothers used to say, woman is better seen and not heard, or something like that. Some people move around with that, especially in the marketing profession or sales and marketing profession, where your results are basically numbers. If you don't share it, nobody's going to know what you're doing. So now I see a lot more women being very vocal about, what they want to achieve, what they want to do, what they have done. And then it boils down to three things. You need to realize that, first of all, as a woman, your race is different from your male counterpart. You're going to get pregnant. You're going to have maternity leaves. You're going to be out of work. I had 3 children in 4-5 years, and truthfully, when you look at it, 1 whole year I was out of work. So the time when you are working, you really need to build up on your results, create memorable experiences. And then we need to ask for help from everybody, honestly. I don't believe in that whole superwoman thing. And these are the things that give you confidence to be able to dream bigger and believe that you can achieve and function in that role. I don't know if that helps to answer the question or shed more light.
I agree. I'll come back to you. Yeah, I agree. A couple of things I'd like us to just further expatiate on that. Lanike, I would like us to have a conversation about leading through and after the crisis, yeah? Because if you look at globally, competition for talent, there are highly visible women leaders of the public and private sectors today, and of course, there's increasing confidence and solidarity for women. Women have been standing up for each other. If you take what has happened with Angela in Germany and Jacinda of Netherlands and how they were able to handle the crisis, yeah? So it tells me something about women in leadership and how their men counterparts have handled the pandemic, yeah? So the big takeaway for me is how is a pandemic, my question to you is, how is a pandemic dissolving the industrial era, the divide between work and home? Yeah, if you look at the current pandemic now, it has added a layer of complexity, right? We didn't have this complexity of both of us being at home at the same time, also working from home. How would you say this new layer of complexity has added to our lives?
Thank you so much, Lola. Tola, what I see, for me, basically is, I think availability is number one. If you make yourself available for whatever situation, you'll be able to confront anything. But the complexities of the pandemic also brought a lot of solutions. Some of these solutions are telework, you can now work from home. I know, yes, there are a lot of distractions, like when you're working, both of you are at home, there's a distraction from the kids, and just your presence at home can create a lot of distraction. But I think from a mindset perspective, if you are available, and when I'm talking about availability, I'm not talking about just being present. Even from a mindset perspective, your availability will make sure that you surmount so many things. And we're so lucky that the pandemic has come at a time when we had so many platforms on which to ride on. Telework, working from home, even schools are online, so life can really be easy. But if you are not available to fine-tune your mind into that space, you might not be able to take advantage of all that is available to you. Thank you. I hope that
answers your question. Oh, of course. As always, I will come back to you too. So, Inyang, I'm going to ask you my first question for today, which is about women's role power at work. Yeah, you know that being female is in a fiercely male culture had everything to do with the decision to face risks. Yeah, a lot of us shy away from the risk. I don't want to be seen as offensive. I don't want to be seen as the one who is aggressive. The most admired guys in the company were the ones who took the wildest risk. Yeah, I'd like you to touch a little bit on the women's role power work. How can we show up big and show up good always?
All right. Thank you very much, Tola. So in terms of how we can show up, I think for women, naturally, we take leadership roles with empathy because we come from a motherhood perspective, I think. And I think that has been really, really useful in terms of responding to the pandemic. The period has been very trying for everybody, whether male or female. So in leading a team, in leading programs, in leading work, you really have to place that instead of being, I know sometimes the traditional culture could be in the workplace could be toxic or aggressive, but I think the pandemic also brought that thing about women actually moving a little further to spread their empathy to, the staff that they work with. And I think that has really been able to keep some people together. The times have also been quite depressive for a number of people. So that empathy comes in really, really handy at this time. And I think that naturally women are the less. I know we've had stories of some women being aggressive at work, but I think that motherhood instinct that comes with every woman is usually quite useful at work, and it really played a good role, responding to work during the pandemic period. So in a way, something that comes naturally to us actually has become um, a strong foundation for us to be able to engage and lead our teams during the pandemic. So it's been useful. I would go with empathy as one of our strong roles in terms of keeping things together.
Okay, but one more thing, yeah. I would like to further expatiate that, yeah, because if you look at in this we choose to a challenge, you remember that women are widely assumed to be fierce in competition with one another, thus reluctant to offer help. So the first instance or the first part of the conversation which you just talked about is about we been bringing our real power to work in reference to men and women work first. Now I'm talking about women to women themselves. You know, we always talk about this women being fierce competition with one another, but I always like to say there's power in how many we are. Yeah, there's usually a lot of women in the workplace, and there's power to the numbers. So as the growing confidence on demonstrated competence has increased, there's women tend to reach their full potential. So there's a greater solidarity among them. I would like us to talk a little bit about that solidarity. How do we continue to encourage other women and not be the one who pulls them down? You know, that competition of women compete with women, even you've left the men now, the men are always very eager to support. I'm the allies. I make them my allies all all the time. But you know, there's just a bit of us that says women compete or they're in fierce competition with another. Can you please give us a couple of support, how we can support each other, how we can use power in the numbers that we have, and how we can and support each other to reach our full the potential?
Okay, thanks very much, Tola. So the thing with women supporting each other, it's an ongoing thing, and sometimes I think it's a bit personal, but like every other thing that we do in life, we have to be a little more deliberate about it. So it's the case of saying, I choose, just the way we're doing the choose challenge. So I choose to be collaborative. I choose to support support the people. So for instance, if you're running a team, right, it's naturally expected that you want to support your team regardless of if they're female or male. But then also we know and accept that for the female folk, there's a little bit of push because sometimes the society makes people feel like the women do not have to push for certain roles. But then as a leader within team, it's also our role to make a deliberate effort to push our to provide opportunities for other females within the team. So I think it's just about us all being confident in ourselves enough to not feel that another person taking a step up is going to push us down, so that we don't keep trying to push each other down. So I haven't really had much experience in terms of, though I have actually had an experience where it looked like a female member did not think that I could go higher, so I'm better off not being higher than herself, or in teams there's always that tussle. It's agreed, but I think for us to combat that thing and focus on solidarity, we need to consciously say, okay, this is my sister, so treat every woman like your sister, kind of. So what I would like best for my sister is the same thing I should expect for my female co-worker, is the same thing I should expect from my female team member, whether a junior team member or a senior team member. So I think it's just having that open heart and understanding that the best person you can actually compete with is yourself and not the next person. Because everybody's running in different ways. So you can't actively compete with some other person except yourself, just becoming a better you every other day. So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And that's very helpful. Lanike, I'd like us to talk about something which I know we touched on before we even started. I'd like you to offer your perspective on women's leadership and how it has evolved. You will agree with me that the revolution or the recognition of this evolution has not looked the same for all of us. For some women, the revolution has been outstanding. For some women, it hasn't scratched at all. You know, we've all experienced this evolution in one way or the other, and the message is distinct and timely for all of us. So I'd like you to just talk a little bit about the evolution of how women has come to lead, leadership and women, and how it has evolved.
Okay, I think for this, let me go from a personal perspective. I have in my career driven, I have gotten to sit in the C-suite and sit with on the board, you know. So I know
We're happy to have you.
you know, it's been a tedious journey. I can't tell you that it was easy, but one thing that I put before me is that you have to be tenacious. You have to be, you know, consistent. You cannot afford to be distracted. You know, there's so many things that will be thrown at you, but you must have your eyes on the goal. And you know, for people like me and for maybe a number of us who have risen very high in our careers, I would suggest that we mentor, we coach people, you know. It's very, very important. I have a number of people that I'm mentoring. They come back to me when they come to this crossroads. And I'm glad to say that a lot of them, I have helped them to do it better than I did it. I always tell them, you know, just like I'm saying here from an experience perspective, I tell them, if, you know, in my own time, I got the advice I'm giving you, I would have traveled a different route. So because of that, I'm giving you this advice. You know, I think it was Ifeoma who mentioned the issues of the having children and building. Those things really, really matter. When you are present, you build the best experience so that when you are out, when you're absent, your absence is felt. And that makes you the go-to person. And that is what will bring progress. You know, and I don't want women to think that can travel as fast as the men. In as much as men are our allies and, you know, we can build support with them and all that, at times we can't travel as fast as they do because of our, you know, some of these peculiar things like your absence at work and all that. But just have your eyes on the goal. Develop a strategy or a vision of where you're going and just keep heading, just keep going, keep hitting at it. No matter how long it takes you, you will get there. You will get there. I think that is what we need to start, you know, inculcating in the younger ones around us, other women around us. And I've seen situations where even though you didn't get as high as you wanted, you could help another woman get higher than you did get. So these are the things that bring about these evolutions that we're talking about. Just being, you know, supporting each other and just pushing. You know, it doesn't have to be you every time. It could be someone else, you know, but just create the platform for someone else to ride on to the top.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Lanike. So, Ifeoma, you know that I said I was going to come back to you, and you had touched on, hold on, please, my battery is running low. And we had touched on the fact that you had small children at home. And I must confess to you, yeah, I have colleagues who have been punished for the pace of work. Now, when you say pace of work, you know that men don't mind working 24/7. For them, it's heroic. And they say it as a badge of honor and a sign that they were tough and belonged. People have primary responsibilities to their children as women. I would like you to expatiate on how many of our colleagues who have first abdicated family life to their wives, how the pandemic has caused all of us to now sit at home and then punishing the pace of work for women. How can we turn this around for better, how can we turn it around so that people then begin to see the advantage rather than see it as a disadvantage? Thank you.
Okay, so let me see if I got the question. You know, now that we're in the COVID era, you know, how do we turn it around as women, right? That was the question.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, let me share my COVID experience. The first it started in March, so we started working from home. The first 1 week, I felt I could do it. In my own case, my husband wasn't working from home. He's in food, so he was going out every day. So it was myself and 3 kids, and I didn't have a nanny. And so I felt I could do it. I think the first thing that we need to tell ourselves, whether as women or as human beings, is we need to tell ourselves the truth. And after 1 week, I was like, you know what, I can't do this. I'm running mad. And so I took a week off work, vacation, to calm down, to think about what I was going to do, given that this was going to be in there for a long time. I had to get myself back. And we as human beings, as a woman, I think when you understand that you have so many things, your sanity is most important. And so that was the first thing I did. And then in that 1 week, it was my children. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, okay. I can hear you.
I was saying the second thing is for our children, we also need to let go a bit. I think we live in an era where we are so protective of our children. In my own case, my kids knew how to do stuff, help around, clean, responsibility. And for the first time, I realized that, come guys, you can make your breakfast yourself, because my meetings start by 8 and I'm in one spot till 6 p.m. You can make your breakfast yourself. You can sort things out. And then by 4 o'clock, we're all in the kitchen. I'm on my calls. We're making dinner or whatever the case might be. So first of all, understanding that, you as a person, you're important. What do you need to have your sanity in place? Number two, how do you apportion the things that happen in the house? You're not a superwoman. Those days are gone. If you can afford to get help, please do get help. I know in that COVID era, I had a colleague that had younger kids and she couldn't get help. And, on some days we had to work together. I would lean over and cover up for her because her kids were much younger, mine were much older. Now as it's easing out and, we're working from home, I think there's the flexibility and a lot of people should take advantage of that. When you work from home for 9 months, I just recently started a role and I need to be in the office, but I've also been honest with myself on some days when, like Ifeoma, you need to work from home today because certain things cannot happen. And then the next thing that we tell ourselves is, we need to be upfront. We need to speak up. This is now things are happening now that did not happen before. If we need to work from home, please speak up and ask, for that. Some schools will do 3 days, in school, 2 days working from home. Be able to speak up if you need to be at home at that time, but make sure that what needs to be done is done. So if you need to be in all your calls, be in on all your calls. Your internet cannot be having issues because then they will say, oh, because she's a woman, she's at home, So I try to avoid all those things. So that there's no,
Ifeoma, we've
there are no comments around the fact that, because
you're back. We can hear you. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. No, I was just rounding up and saying that, in those times when we take advantage of the flexibility, let's just make sure that as much as possible, we have our game together, such that, there are not comments flying around just because you're a woman. That's why you're taking more advantage of this. I personally try to do that. But the times I need to, work from home, I will work from home. The times I need to take time off work, I don't really care whoever says anything. If I need to get my sanity, I get my sanity. I take my days off, But then when I'm at work, then I'm fully present and you cannot say, oh, Ifeoma did not do this.
Yeah. Good. I think that is resounding because then I like the fact that when you're present, the whole of you is present. I think that's very important because a lot of times we're present, we tick the box, but the relevance, the value we bring on board, people don't really see it. And then they keep explaining, oh, I've got kids, I've got other things. When you choose to be present, please be present with all of you. I also like the fact that you touched on your sanity being important. Because a healthy mind is the one that can come to work and bring in our best. I like the fact that you take time off when you need to take time off. And I think encouraging other women to speak up when they need to speak up and take time off is very important. Because when you then decide to come back, the whole of you, body, mind, spirit, is well and able to come back. And Lanike, I'd like to come back to you. Yeah, because I like the fact that you are especially on the panel today. So I'm going to trouble you a little bit more, yeah? You know how it is when you sit in the C-suites and they tell us we're not qualified to make the big decisions. We don't understand strategy. We lack vision and guts. It's time for women to stop buying into this maze, and we aren't ready for top. You know that we are not ready for the top seats. Clearly, the world can afford for us not to step in. I mean, I don't think the world can afford for us not to step up anymore. You know, there's so many women up there. But I'd like you to, tell us how we can embrace the potential for future advancements. I think women don't need to be scared anymore. I would like you to share. You've shared part of your journey. I know there's a whole lot you can share. I would like you to tell people on the call today not to be afraid. People, more women are advancing and taking huge and influential roles and in large companies. I would like you to tell us that the world cannot afford for us not to step up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tola. Yes, the world cannot afford for us not to step up.
Absolutely.
We have a lot to offer.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot to offer. The way I see a woman, you see, your family is a corporation already. So you get a lot of training just by being at home, from your kids, interacting with domestic staff, interacting with your neighbors, interacting with your friends. You can't imagine the volume of experience you get there. But one thing I want to say for women to step up is, number one, you must be qualified. Seek to get the qualification you need. When I talk about qualification, I'm not talking about only paper qualification. Whatever you need to know about that job, whatever you need to know about that process, you must know it. And I found out a gap, unfortunately, with women. We don't learn about strategy and visions and all those things. And, men can use those to chance us. So, I think, in making men your allies and your support system, you must, when you converse with them, I think it's always good to peek into their brains and see the things that they're doing, and then you do it in a better way. See, there's no doubting it. A woman will do double to advance. So be prepared. You will do double to advance. Your male counterpart will do one, you would have to do 2, 3, 4. But it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you're advancing. That is the most, because you're not advancing just because of yourself. You are advancing because of the people behind you who will see you and get inspired to also advance. So whatever you do, you make it easier for the next woman coming behind. So I think it's something that we need to, the world cannot just, we can't afford not to step up. So you need to get all that you need to do in terms of experience, knowledge, Sometimes it costs you your own personal finance. Some people sit in the office and they're expecting the office to train them. Don't wait for the office, do it yourself. Do it yourself so that you will shine. When you shine, they have no choice but to push you up. I remember a time in my office, I think my promotion was because I got so high and they were trying to hold me back. But it just got to a time that they had no reason. They had no choice but to just, I just busted out. Because while they held me back, I just kept training myself. I just kept getting, sharpening my iron. And at a time, they looked at themselves and said, no, we can't do this to this woman. We can't, So you don't look at it like you're being held back, Just continue to sharpen yourself. And a time will come, you will burst out. But you can't sit there and do nothing. Don't sit there doing nothing. Continue to do something. Thank you.
That is so bold. I love the energy. Thank you very much. I just knew it. I knew you will bring it on. And that is what I like. So Inyang, I'm going to come to you now, yeah? So the energy levels that Lanike has given us, we're going to step up from there, yeah? So, she told us to bring our skills on, yeah? But these skills include the ability to build strong relationships across all levels. I was listening to a podcast one day and somebody told me, yeah, that for you to go up, somebody must be speaking on your behalf when doors are closed. So the only way that happens is if you have the right relationships. It bars for communication directly, as opposed to up and down the chain of command, or a preference for leading from the center rather than from the top, or with a comfort from diverse and instilled by having held outsider status. What works best? Yeah, you know, we have this thing of somebody speaking for us, being build yourself, don't wait for your organization to train you. But in all of this, what's your advice?
Okay, so really having someone speak for you still goes back to competence and being ready. So what Lanike just mentioned about preparing yourself. So if you need someone to speak for you, to push you to the upper level, you need to also understand that that person is putting a trust and putting their reputation on the line to push you forward, right? So which means that person has to be able to have viewed the fact that you are actually ready for the upper level, right? And in terms of being in rooms where you're having conversation, so I think for women, it's about being in that middle point where you are confident enough to engage with the higher level people, and you're also confident and humble enough to accept and work with the people who are working with you, right? Like your junior staff or junior team members who are working with you. So if you place yourself at that position where you're accessible, it also opens doors for you. So sometimes the recommendation doesn't necessarily have to be in the big room. Sometimes it happens in the smaller room. You don't know what's happening in the kitchen, conversations that are happening in the kitchen and how these things trickle, So really, if you want someone to speak for you, you have to engage a lot with more people, be more open-minded. The interpersonal relationship thing is not a joke, really. So whether you're engaging with upper level people or you're engaging, because for you to actually be able to make recommendations for people in the upper room, you have to be one that they can openly tell you, because sometimes you could be in boardroom meetings and they have, I remember one episode of a sitcom that I watched where there are certain people, in fact, there are certain conversations, even if you're in the boardroom, those conversations will not happen there. They will happen maybe in the drinking pots or in when people are having cigar breaks, right? So you're not there. So really, if they want to take you in, they have to think about that conversation with you. So which means that interpersonal relationship is really, really important. Engaging with people in the boardrooms and the upper room, or engaging with even your younger team members, for your voice to be heard, for your voice to be taken seriously. First, you have to be very competent, and then the personal relationship is really, really important, especially because it allows the communication lines to open up a lot more. People need to also respect you and understand that when you say something, your word is more like gold, kind of, and they can take your word forward. It's kind of like the thing that you see. You remember what happened around Gozi Wela, right? The voting system for months. Everybody kept wondering, she really has to go. The contest between herself and the South Korean lady, all of that, it took people standing behind her, and that is largely because of she has demonstrated competence over time, right? So for us to support each other, we also have to put our trust in our colleagues and be ready to support each other. But then for us ourselves as well, the personal relationship is really essential for us to be mentioned in the upper room or upper rooms, wherever they may be. Thanks, Tola.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Inyang. Ifeoma, I'm going to come back to you now, if you can hear me. I know that we've talked about women in leadership. We've talked about how we need somebody to stand for us. We've also talked about the fact that even as women, we don't own it. It's not a right. You need to earn it. And I think that for me is my most important strength, which I like to highlight every time. Don't claim it because you're a woman. Earn it because you are competent and you have the confidence to display alongside. Yeah. And our boss lady, Lanike, has also told us, stand up and step up, be heard, which I like, And Ifeoma, I'd really like you to talk about women in leadership and why so few and what do we do about it?
Why so few? Thank you, Tola. Why so few? Because we don't have a plan, honestly. And I use myself as an example. And I know many women like this. Until I was 10 years in my career, I had an MD. I was handling the biggest brand. And he just, I guess the effort I was putting in, he called me one day and he said, what do you want to be your next assignment? And I was looking at him and I had no clue. And I said, I don't know. He said, how can you not know? I said, because my managers have just always planned my career for me. And he said, no, every other person has, And I went back and I was talking to my female counterparts, and a lot of us really, we're waiting for the promotion, but you just don't know what the next role is. And so he told me to go and look for my next role and come back to him and let him know. And I told him, because of me, he became friends with the boss of that person's role so that he would know when the person is ready to move and all that. Now, what am I trying to say? That was how many years ago? Maybe like 5 years ago. And that started a change in my thinking in terms of, you need to have a plan. You need to be clear on where you want to get to. In this current role I'm handling now, as of 2 years ago, I was very clear on the career path I wanted. It was either a marketing director for Sub-Saharan Africa or a larger scope, or a commercial director, or a GM for a new company that is coming into Nigeria. It took me some audacity to be able to say, oh, you know what, Ifeoma, I believe you can do that. Because sometimes we just want to be humble, we're women. So once you have a plan, then you start working towards the plan. Because when it comes to competence, honestly, we do the work. It's just, are you clear on this is where you're going? It's not going to fall on your feet at your table and say, oh, we come and take this. No. If we want to be on boards, I'm on the board of a microfinance bank, yes, that one I was recommended. But as I think about it more, and it was just an eye-opener, like, you know what? The value I bring on this board, if I do it on 5, 6 more boards, it's going to be phenomenal. How do you do that? You need to start planning. You need to start positioning yourself as a thought leader. So I think if we want to have more women in the places of authority or in those upper rooms at those tables where decisions are made, women need to have a plan. We need to be clear that we want this. And if you are not being bad, you're not being, the other word, just because you have great ambitions. Once you have that plan, then what do I need to get there? And we start planning towards it. That's what our male counterparts do. We can't wait for it to fall on our feet. And then competence will now match it when because you're prepared. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it from my end, what I would say.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ifeoma. And our chat box is, everybody's trying to say thank you to the panelists. People are asking questions. But I think for me, a little of what I've picked from everyone today, women have become far more confident about what they have to contribute. They have learned through experience the value of female solidarity and support. We have also become more comfortable enlisting men as our allies. Yeah, I do that a lot, and I encourage everyone to do that. I practically work with a team of men. I'm usually always the only woman around them. Yeah, and I enjoy the company because I've made it such that a decision can't even be made when they don't even talk to me. I feel really important. Yeah, and just as men have become more open to being allies, each of these changes has specific causes and effects, yet they all reinforce one another. I'd like us to take into cognizance what each one of our speakers has said. We've talked about work from home and mentoring. Lanike has talked about mentoring. And really, Ifeoma, please don't tell your kids to cook so early. I know you talked about that.
It's cereal. It's
I had to write that down.
Stuff.
Don't mind me, I've had to do the same at my end because your meetings start at 8 and they need to have breakfast. So really, we needed to work around a couple of those things. And of course, Inyang talked about prioritization also. She talked about being qualified. And Lanike also mentioned something about homes have even become institutions. Yeah, managing the home and taking care of the home, taking care of work from home. We need to also first manage that institution before we take it forward. I'd like to take a couple of questions. I know Bunmi is waiting to help me with that. So I'm just going to let Bunmi please unmute yourself so that we can hear you and you can lead me through the questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I have one comment from Christina from the UK. Christina, would you unmute and give us your comment, please? Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. So I just wanted to bring in an amazing Nigerian leader, a female leader, who just recently, you guys all know who I'm talking about. She got recently nominated as the Director General of the World Trade Organization. And sorry, I'm on the street. So, and I just wanted to ask your opinion. Like, I know her story and I know where she come from, and she represents so much, you know, in the Nigerian context, I believe. So I just wanted to ask if you see any immediate impact of this amazing achievement, and if you see any long-term change in terms of how little girls are thinking, and how even boys, little boys, looking at girls and women.
Thank you very much, Christina. From my side, I would like to say that we've seen the immediate effect with people even trying to dress like her. That in itself shows the solidarity, the support, the empowerment, how people are inspired. That for me was powerful. It was really nice to see her sit there. But I like each of one of the panelists to take just 60 seconds, please. Just talk about your opinion. So, Ifeoma, could you please start?
Okay, I think for me, it's obvious what her stuff has done, what her being, appointed as the DG of the WTO has done. I think more than anything, it's really made people believe that, I could be raised in Nigeria, I could be born in Nigeria, schooled in Nigeria, and actually, make global impact. I believe it's changed, the thinking of a lot of women and even men in terms of possibilities. There's just this whole general perception of, you're Black, you're African, you try to change your accent when you are out of this country. Ngozi is just so Nigerian, she's proud of who she is. And then it's so obvious that what is up there in your head is really what, positions you for greater things. And that has really come true in even the way people are thinking and approaching their work. Like, how can I give this the excellence that is required? Because I believe now that, the world is really my pedestal. So I do see that. And I trust it will continue.
Thank you very much. For my Inyang, please.
Yeah, so I think, Ngozi Wela's position has further galvanized interest in some of us for taking up higher global leadership role. And I remember my ISEC experience, the first thing that actually really got to me with ISEC was the self-awareness, as part of a development seminar that we had. So from that self-awareness to, I think initially my plan was finish school, just get a job and move on, right? But then in terms of, the aspirations into international development came from ISEC. And I feel like Ngozi has just opened our eyes to the possibilities of the African woman to sit in global development organizations, to sit in global offices. And I think it's really a good aspiration for each and everyone to aim for. But as Christina has mentioned around how does, in her chat, in the message she put in, how does this go to the younger people? And I think that for those of us here, we also have to be conscious that we might be privy to Ngozi's role today. But then the children in secondary school, the children in university, the young ladies, the young girls, I think we have to be deliberate about how we share that inspiration and aspiration to the younger girls. Because, I don't know if some of them have seen what we're seeing on social media and media generally, how we are all projecting her as a role model. Because these days, don't forget that we're struggling with a lot of social media presence. There's a lot of entertainment things that are struggling with the role Ngozi is reflecting for women. So I think we have to be deliberate about cascading that aspiration to the younger girls.
All right, thank you very much. Lanike, I would like to have your view, please.
All right. I think for me, as a country or even as a continent, we've struggled with this issue of the female child, where our children are confused whether the female child is to go to school or not. whether she's to aspire or not, whether she can do certain things or not, but the emergence of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala onto that seat, has broken that myth that a female child cannot aspire as high. She dresses African. Even to her first day in the office, she speaks African. She doesn't have an accent. She doesn't have anything. She went there with her Ankara and everybody was talking and talking. I don't know if we saw what happened at the Golden Globes, where people started wearing the Ankara, for the Golden Globes, to take pictures. These are some of the things that, the impact that her emergence has brought. And I'm very sure that, you speak to little girls now, they're not confused, that confusion is clearing that, oh, she's an African woman. She's that. And don't forget, she was Minister of Finance in Nigeria for some years. So, they are seeing these things. And I think it falls in the category of that mentorship and coaching that I was talking about. She didn't do it for herself. She did it for the generations of women coming behind her. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much. And if I read the chats in the comment section, Noye says, yes, there was a Twitter trend on Ngozi. It was nice to see. Bunmi says, you can come from Nigeria and still make global impacts. Thank you. That was nice to see also. Uzo says, also encourage our female colleagues to be international. Sorry, there's one message obstructing me here. Hold on, I'll just go back. I'm so sorry. It's nice. Okay, yeah. Also encourage our female colleagues to be intentional in leveraging mentors and allies for scaffolding. Great. Christina says she went through so much adversity and pushed and pushed. She doesn't take nonsense. I just love her. We absolutely love her too.
Okay, we also have a question, Tola.
Oh, yes, please.
Yes, we have one question. You passed it. That's why I had to stop you. From Brenda Uwago. She has a question. Brenda, please.
Brenda, could you please unmute yourself?
I think I can read the question. She said,
can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Hi,
all right. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Brenda.
Thank you. Hi. It's great to see all of you on this panel. I'm alumni, and you are making great strides. I know many of you personally, and nothing but, best role models could have, for all the younger people. But one of the things I have seen in, not just in this part of the world, but all over, is that a lot of us women have this issue of imposter syndrome. And a lot of the times you see guys stand up and they ask them, can you do this? Even if they can't do it, they will tell you, yes, I can. And they just take the job and then figure it out along the way. And if I remember one particular story of a guy who said he couldn't code, next thing they wanted him to head the IT department earlier on, before a lot of advancement in IT and all, and he couldn't even code. And they were like, can you do this? Do you understand CBA? He said, yes, I do. He spent the next 2 weeks learning code, right? But he'd already more or less prepared his, and I think some of it is confidence, etc. Many of us are fully qualified, fully ready, but we keep questioning ourselves. So I want to know whether any of you have experienced this, in your careers, and how do you recommend or how do you advise, younger women on how to overcome it? Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. And I must say that during my work time, I've watched as women's perception of themselves as potential leaders has undergone a remarkable shift. I said that at the beginning. There's also a resolve that has both remained constant through succession of subtle but distinctive turning points that have collectively informed the way in which many women recognize not only what they have to offer as leaders, but why their success can profoundly benefit their organizations. But that said, I would like our panelists to please throw more light on that. I will specifically ask Lanike to share her views on this.
Okay, thank you. For the imposter syndrome question that Brenda asked, Brenda, I think the the yeah, I think the place for the solution is mentorship, just building people's confidence. I don't know. I didn't experience it because I knew what I could do. I always knew what I could do. So I mean,
Yeah, I guess I gives you that. But those that don't go through it, what they do?
yeah, so
Yes,
I think
I gives you that.
I think the solution is just in mentorship. Like I said when I was talking, that I have a number of people who have come to. I make sure that when people work with me, I mentor them. And even when you're not within you're not working with me anymore, I keep in touch with you. I call you, what are you doing? We spoke about this, we did this, we did that. You need to step up. A number of them have come to me, they're trying to climb up, and I'm telling them, I ask a few questions and I say, I don't think you're really ready. Maybe give yourself a little time, and then do this, and you'll be good to go, So I think it's just mentorship, just to encourage them, to strengthen their minds, because we're coming, like I said earlier, we're coming from this place of confusion. We're not sure what we can do. But, when the people ahead of us say, you can do it, just go. You can even do much more, they will be encouraged. So, but for me, I didn't really have that experience. I always knew what I could do, and I took on a lot, and that's why I used to boast, So, well, I don't know. Mentorship.
Right. Yeah, mentorship. Thank you very much. But I think leaving the comfort zone is one thing we also need to put out on the table, and the mindset of equality as a reality. Yeah, women as leaders for other women, just like you said, through mentorship, be resilient that change can come. I think that for me is very important. So putting it out there, mentorship. Yes, thank you very much. I can see that. Yes. So Bunmi, I don't know if there are any other questions. I'm trying to read down because I'm losing pace. That's why there's so many messages before I get back there.
Tola, can I add something to that question?
Oh, yes,
This is
please,
Ifeoma.
Ifeoma.
Okay, I was also going to say that, yes, ISEC, does give you that. And then this thing builds on successes. So when you have one small success and you're faced with a bigger challenge, you remind yourself of, what, I've done this before, so I can do this. However, the perspective I want to add is that there are some times where you are in toxic situations, there's some work environments that when you're in, if you're not careful, you begin to lose confidence. You begin to lose your that thing that you have. And that's where self-awareness comes in. I've been in a situation like that where at a point I really was not, people will say, come on, do this. And you're like, and I'm like, oh, okay. And like, it's you now, it's you, iffy effect. And I'm asking myself. And so when I spotted this in my own case, I'm very clear on the environment where I thrive best in. I would describe myself as a cactus. You thrive in all environments. However, there are some where you really flourish. And when I notice those toxic environments, I leave. And it's not about the pay for today or the pay for tomorrow. It's about the fact that if I stay there much longer, I would lose myself. And I think we also need to be mindful of that. While there's a place of, mentoring, reminding yourself that you can do this. Sometimes when you're in a toxic situation that you're there for 12 hours a day, there's so much that those other things can do, and you may just need to leave, that place of self-awareness, leave, build back yourself again, and be conscious of that fact that you don't want to get into that situation again.
Yes, thank you very much, Ifeoma. I'll just go right into the chat box again. Abao Kasum says the key is being self-confident and believe in the process. Women have so many things to share and offer to the world. Thank you very much. We acknowledge that. Bunmi says mentorship helps to overcome the imposter syndrome. Thank you, Bunmi. And Brenda, thank you for asking that question. Women as leaders for other women, but there's a new message here. Hold on, I'll just try and read it.
Can we ask Noya to ask her message?
Yes, Noya has put a question up, but Noya is online. So Noya, could you please ask your question?
Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
can you hear me? Hello?
You can.
Okay, good evening. Okay, so most times in workplaces, you notice that when people are trying to climb up, men actually do support women. I've experienced this support, but women will tend to fight you. I have no reason to, I don't know why this happens, but it just appears like your female bosses are usually the most wicked of them all. So I want to know, is it true, or do you think that it's true what people say that women are actually their own enemies?
Okay, so I think I would like Inyang to answer that question, but I know that paying it forward and actively helping younger women coming up, women are aspiring to leadership and supporting other women as a way to distinguish themselves. So in as much as they want to be successful leaders, distinguishing themselves, part of doing that is supporting other women and leading other women up. So in terms of their visibility, their reputation, and the networks that they build, you know, the upshot is that women who have become openly and enthusiastically helpful to one another and are often highly invested in promoting one another's interests. Well, I'd like Inyang to please shed more light on that question. Thank you.
So I think we spoke a bit about this earlier on when we talked about how do we support each other to grow. And like what I said earlier, which is being deliberate about it and being conscious of the fact that your competition is yourself, not the woman or even a man, you know, on the other side. So I agree that we would always feel like we have to do twice as much as the men. But really, in terms of developing yourself, it's all about you competing with yourself. And then we had talked about this earlier, which is about not pulling down the next person, because really pulling down the next person doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to go up. I think people really need to get that at the back of their mind, whether we as women are against women or against men. Sometimes actually trying to push one person down actually, you know, comes back at you in the wrong way, you know. So I think just being conscious and, like I said earlier, being deliberate about the choice to build each other up, the choice to lift each other up. And I think if you are constantly improving your own self, you wouldn't feel like the next woman is your competition, right? So that goes back to what Lanike had said earlier. Get your qualifications, improve your competence, you know, keep growing. As long as you keep growing, you see people less as competition. But yeah, definitely, I don't think we are our worst enemies. I wouldn't agree that we are our worst enemies. We have very good bonding friendships. And then, like, even if we do have toxic environments, like Ifeoma said, if the environment is toxic and it's not good for your well-being, you should move, right? But then essentially, I think we should be conscious about building each other up instead of pulling each other down. That's what I would want to say to that.
Fantastic, fantastic. Oh, Lanike has her hands up. Oh, you're
can
mute.
Okay, can I just add something to it?
Sure,
because
please go ahead.
My experience might be different because Noye, you know, at times maybe some of the problems I have seen is that because she referred specifically to women bosses. Like I said, right, they've had to do double 5 times their male counterpart to get what they need. At times it might be that they're trying to toughen you because they know the eyes are ahead. And you are seen as them too wicked, you know. At times it looks like that because even for Conjo, when I saw a comment, you know, online, somebody saying that he's so rude, she's mean, she's good luck to her staff. And you know, I was like, oh really? So you know, it might just be that they are trying to toughen you up because they know that it's not going to be an easy journey, you know. But initially you resist it and think they're being wicked, but it might not be the intention.
I agree. Fair points. Bunmi, we have one last question in the chat box, but I do not see the name. Could you please help me check?
Okay, we have a question. Umar, Isaac Alumni Africa President, has a question for the panelists. Umar, could you unmute yourself, please?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Oh, hi, Umar.
Hey, and happy International Ladies' Day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for this panel. It is really a wonderful panel. The engagement is wonderful. In all our social media platform is blowing, what you're doing, everybody's watching it around Africa. Now, I have a question, and then pretty much I'm looking at it on the other side of what is happening because just for disclosure, I live in the United States. So we have the Me Too movement that started in the United States. Now the Me Too movement is gaining ground in Africa. And 2 weeks ago, I have the pleasure to join a panel. The panel, and we have executive women and male. And we have a lot of female that was saying, we're encouraging females to go to the authority even for their husband, say my husband raped me. And why I'm saying that, and also the other thing is we have the men was saying that if my wife is a boss at her job, when she come home, she wanna show me that she's the boss. And also, the third thing I'm worrying about also, we're seeing female that are being used. Female that are being used. A good example is what is happening right now in Senegal. I don't want to be political. So my question to the panelists is, if we try, to talk about equality, we want the female to gain power. How we can really, I heard about mentorship, but how we can do a way that we have some strong females in the workplace that will not abuse their power at home, because even though they, they're claiming the lie at work, they're breaking their family at home. That's number one. Number two, what we can do so they cannot be used for political or other reality, just for them to be themselves, and for men to be also comfortable around them. Because I have heard some men saying, oh, nowadays in my office I cannot even compliment females, because if I compliment a female, they're gonna say, oh, I'm flirting with her, it's sexual harassment, I may lose my job. Because my perspective is the females can get the promotion without getting the men fired. So as expert, what is the advice you can give to the young ladies so they can claim the leader like you without damaging our society? Because our backbone is our society.
Thank you very much, Umar. And I must say that's really deep, I had to, I was practically writing down as you were talking so that I don't lose any part of your question. I got two parts of the question. I just want to be sure. One, you mentioned the fact that women have become very powerful and influential, and that there's a lot of women are becoming very powerful, and that because of that, even in the workplace, the men are afraid, and you cited an example of even when you compliment women, you're afraid that you might even get sexual harassment. You might be termed as sexual harassment. You also talked about the fact that women needed to sack the male counterparts for them to get promoted. I just wanted to be sure that I got those two aspects of your question right. Yes, no?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So I would say that now that there's clarity to the question, I would say that more women in corporate America, like because you live in America, 40%, there's average of more than 40% female representation, and diversity in the leadership is good. In the business, you must be aware that the diversity in the business is good. I'm going to leave the panelists to answer your question, because I know that I have two hands raised already, and they're more than eager to answer your question. But what I would like to say is the fact that our leadership as women is very conservative, and has been on the board with working from home, which, to be frank, has its limits. Yeah. And of course, our ability to attract more women, suddenly they see that it works. Yes, so there's more women in the workplace, but it will be illuminating to what the structural changes that are evolving as the old divide between men and women. We are eroding that divide, and it's bound to deepen as the more male involvement. That also applies to raising our children. But the double standard is one which I will not also agree with, and I'm going to allow our panelists to do justice to your question. I think it's a really brilliant one. Ifeoma, I would like to start with you, and I want you to do this in 60 seconds. Lanike, you will go next, and Inyang, you will go last. 60 seconds, please. Thank you.
Okay. You know, it's a very interesting one. I think for me personally, the question comes as, what do you define as success for yourself as a woman? You know, apart from being a career woman, I'm a wife and I'm a mom and I'm other things. And so I define success for me. And success for me means that I want to, you know, win across all those fronts. So it's very clear who I am in the office and who I am at home. And I think, honestly, I don't want to use the word, but I think it's a woman that's clear about her place in the home, because, you know, even though the man is the head of the home, you really are the one that turns things around. So you don't need to, I don't believe in fighting for, you know, who calls the shots and all that. In the office, I'm a boss and I do what I need to do. I take care of my people. I set direction. That's the way I work. I'm a people person. At home, I'm very happy to be loved on. I'm very happy to be, you know, fragile. I'm very happy to be a mom. And so I think in the African context, it's already kind of ingrained in us. That's the way I would, you know, respond to that particular question.
Thank you very much, Ifeoma. Lanike, can we have you, please?
Okay. For me, I think first thing I want to say is that I'm a Christian. So and I don't joke with my faith. And so therefore my husband is the head of my home. I'm a mother, I'm a wife when I'm at home. When I'm at the office, yes, I call the shots, I organize things, I get things done. You know, I contribute my part to the success of that organization. And then the next leg that I am aspiring to is that I have male children. So my learnings in the workplace is to help me make my children very great. That is what I am doing. I'm acquiring so much skills to nurture and mentor my children to greatness. So I do not go to the workplace to compete with my male counterparts. Like I said earlier on, they're my allies. We are a team. You know, we work together to achieve the success, the overall goal of that organization. So I don't see the place of struggling with them or getting them fired to get the promotion. No. If my organization says that I'm so great, I'm so good, and which is what has happened to me, they create offices for me to run, and those offices become so big that other people, you know, I move on, and other people take over, you know. And yes, truly, we need strong women in the workplace to encourage women to report, you know, abuse or any kind of, you know, abnormality going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And can we have you, please?
Okay, so I'm just going to start from where Lanike stopped. I think if the boardroom has 5 seats, that 5 seats is for competent people, and it shouldn't matter if it's a woman or it's a man, right? So this is what we've been fighting for years, equality. So we don't have to pull down the man to sit in that boardroom. We just have to be respected for the competence that we bring on board, which means, you know, if it's for 5 people and the 5 people who are competent have 5 women, then they should sit on the 5, you know, the 5 seats. And I think it should be acceptable. It shouldn't be that we have to pull anyone down. And then with regards to sexual harassment from compliments, I think at this point, people know what is right and what's wrong, right? You can still compliment your colleague without it being offensive. So I think there's the growing consciousness of what is right and what is wrong. And I think that in previous times, so many things had been taken for granted. But now that the consciousness is there, we're not saying you can't compliment women, but I think what we're essentially saying, we have to be conscious of the fact that certain things that you say are offensive, you know, to the woman folk. So that's just having everybody be conscious, just like the way we were conscious about respecting men. I think men should also be conscious about respect due to women. So I think that would be it for me.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Inyang, for that last. I would like to read one last comment from the chat section. from Christina. He says, share to the women at your workplace, acknowledge their achievements and contributions. Wool that is very biased, a woman doesn't need to put it down a man to put down a man to get promoted. If males respect women and acknowledge them and promote them when they deserve it, not walking over them. Absolutely, I agree with that. So I'm sorry I will not be able to take any more questions, but I'm going to request everyone to please turn on the video. I'd like us to take the high five. The theme for the International Women's Day for 2021 is choose to a challenge. We've challenged a couple of statusals here today, but I'd like us to take a picture together on the Zoom call. I would like everyone to please turn on their videos like I'm doing. Put up your right hand so that Bunmi can take a picture for everyone on the call today. That will just take about a minute. Could we please turn on our videos? Bunmi, could you make everybody show up? I know you won't be able to do this in one page, so maybe take page 1 and then page 2. You will let us know when you're done. We'll just keep holding on. Bunmi, you're on mute. You need to let us know when you've taken the picture.
All right, so this is the I Choose the Challenge picture. Everybody give us a big, big smile, and we're taking it now. That is the first picture because we have two slides. So please just stay the way you are. And I'm going to go to the next one and take the second slide. So keep your hands up, second slide coming up. Oh, some of you still have your videos off. Mama Africa, please put on your video. Please put on your video. The picture is coming up now, and I am going to be in it, so I'm also doing this. A big smile now, and there we have it. Thank you very much.
Bunmi, please, you can help us round off. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. Today is the ISEC Alumni Talks, and I dare to say that we celebrated International Women's Day first. So kudos to ISEC alumni in Nigeria. I'd like to welcome, we have quite a diverse audience here. We have Marielle from AAI, and we have Umar from ISEC Alumni Middle East and Africa. We also have Abu, and we have quite a number of people from the diaspora. We have Lulu from Dubai, and we have Uzo from the United States. We have our past presidents here. I'd like to mention Mr. Shola Oyetayo, who was very strong in helping us put this idea of this Women's Day together. Mr. Shola Oyetayo, thank you very much for your support that made this happen. I also have the very first female ISEC alumni president in Nigeria. That is the person of Brenda Uwagu, my person I succeeded. I also have from ISEC alumni Middle East and Africa, I have Anik, our Mama Africa High. We have Fatou Soro from ISEC alumni Africa, and every other person, Esther, Dorian, thank you. Dorian made sure it was well publicized. Shitu Gideon, ISEC alumni in Jos, thank you very, very much. But most of all, I'd like to thank Lanike Fadairo, who is an ISECer married to an ISECer. I'd like to thank Inyang, Umoren. Inyang is an education expert. And I'd like to thank Ife. She's an author, she's a mentor, and she even has her own NGO. I would like to just give 2 seconds to Marielle again and to Umar, and then we'll round it off. Thank you very much. Marielle, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Well, I just want to congratulate you as an amazing panel. I'm so excited that you guys get kicked out of the International Women's Day in the alumni community. So yeah, there will be more events coming up during this month and more awareness about, working towards fighting bias in women in leadership. So just congratulations. I have a blast as a woman joining the event, and I hope we continue to have this space for engagement. Thank you so much. Congratulations to all.
Thank you, Marielle. I think I'd already mentioned Christina from the UK as well. So Umar, can you just say one or two words, then we round it off.
I want to thank President Bunmi. Job well done. Today, the entire ISEC world, I'm not saying Middle East and Africa, but the entire ISEC world is around, is supporting your effort. We're routing for you. Nigeria has always did pull it again. So thank you, President. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to all the participants. You always make us very proud, and then we are very grateful. And once again, happy International Women's Days.
Thank you very much. I would not go without mentioning the EB, the Executive Board of ISEC Alumni Nigeria, that has also been very instrumental to making everything happen. On this note, we'd like to wish everybody a happy International Women's Day. Let us choose to challenge, and let us make sure that we are inclusive in everything we do, women, men, and most of all, let us encourage, celebrate our women whenever we can. On behalf of ISEC alumni in Nigeria, I'd like to say thank you, most especially to the very energetic moderator, Omotola Elatuyi. She has been very energetic in making this happen. Omotola, thank you very much. You moderated and even contributed. Thank you very much. And I'd like us to know that the ISEC Alumni Talks is an opportunity to showcase ISEC in ISEC members, ISEC alumni, because we have so much talent and potential. We have not even scratched the surface. So please, for ISEC alumni in Nigeria or ISEC alumni in Africa, if you want to be a panelist or you want to talk on any of our days as a subject matter expert, please reach us by email. It is in the chat room. Reach us and nominate people who you believe will be beneficial for us all to learn, because ISEC alumni has so much potential and talent and raw talent. This is only the tip of the iceberg. So all I'm going to say is, hey, ISEC, say what? Thank you. We're rounding off now. Thank you very much. And that is a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Thank you. All right. So the video is going to be available, and we're going to share it on our social media platforms. Thank you very much. Thank you, Titi. Thank you, Anik. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Shitu, thank you for being here. Esther, I have not seen you in ages. Dorian, Mon ami, thank you. Olulu, thank you. Mr. Yetayo, thank you very much. You were the inspiration for this. Thank you. Izang, Ademola, Ajani, thank you. Tisi and Izang, Gidi, Mabel, hi. You can unmute yourself and say hello, please. It's just going to be 1 minute and then we'll be off.
Thank you, Bunmi. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Uzo from the
Thank
US.
you.
Thank you.
Well done, well done. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Ebu Omotosho from ISEC Ilorin.
Oh my goodness, Ebu Omotosho, senior Ebu. Okay, Abu, we're going to share with you as well. Okay, Abu, you want us to share the link? We'll share with you as well. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're ending the session right away. Have a lovely evening. Happy International Women's Day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Bunmi. Bye, everyone.